All right, we want to pivot now and take a look, as mentioned, at the UN Security Council, which has failed to reach a resolution or an agreement to call for Syrian President Bashar al-Assad to step down. And so the violence continues there. Joe Loria joins us now from home in Riverdale, New York, with the latest. Joe, good morning. And Joe, can you tell us, having failed to reach this resolution, with Russia and China standing in the way, what the next steps are for the Arab League or for the international community, which would like to do something more to help stem this violence?
Well, there was never expected to be a vote yesterday, and that still could happen as early as Friday. The negotiations on the draft resolution, which is based on the Arab League's plan to bring an end to the violence in Syria, and that is basically to have President Bashir step aside for his deputy in forming a national unity government, and then they would that national unity government, together with the opposition and the regime, would then lead into general elections at some point. That plan is in the resolution, but the Russians yesterday have again said that they oppose that, and the reason being is they see this as regime change, and they also fear outside military intervention. And they have backing from China simply because China supports them on this issue. But this Russia is really the country in the lead here. Russia has very strong interests in Syria, and that's essentially about $700 million a year in arms sales. They have a warm water port that their ships, naval ships, can go into on the Mediterranean. And this is the last really Arab ally that Russia has from the days of the Cold War, when the Soviet Union had quite a lot of influence in the Middle East. So they don't want to lose those three things.
Joe, very quickly on this.
Now,
so
the resolution, yes, go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just very quickly, is this, to some degree, Russia's sort of stance to say, you know, we're still a global power? I mean, it almost seems like it's this objection by Russia in some simplistic way is a throwback to the Cold War. Is that part of this, that Russia asserting that we're a player?
There's definitely an element of that.
Yeah, there is definitely an element of that. And also,
yeah, I would say there's definitely an element of that. And that
we have a bit of a delay. Joe,
okay,
go ahead. Last word, Joe. Go ahead. We'll let you finish.
There is an element of that, and that plays domestically. There are elections in Russia next year, and Russia constantly wants to maintain that it is still a superpower. But I think there are also these practical interests that I mentioned, the arms sales and the port. I think that they would get rid of Assad. Maybe they left the door open, Russia, slightly yesterday to negotiate the text of this resolution. I don't think it's a done deal that they're going to veto this. They may even Foreign Minister Lavrov yesterday, Russia said that President Assad is not our ally, not our friend. I think essentially they would dump Assad if they knew that whoever followed him would honor these interests. But whether they've actually gone to that extent yet to speak to the opposition, to feel comfortable that the arms contracts, for example, would continue either in a post-Assad Syria, that's not clear. So right now at the UN, they're going to try to find a formula on the language to get a vote where Russia will not veto. And there is a possibility that that happens. But the regime change and the threat of military intervention by the West at some point need to be clearly stated in the resolution. Actually, the resolution does say there will be no military intervention.
And
so the Russians need to
have
better language now.
Yeah.
Yep, 7,100 deaths in Syria since last March. Joe Loria with the details there, and we'll keep an eye on that as those meetings proceed this week.